One is, of course, everyone's now aware that Representative Elijah Cummings passed on this morning. And I want to do just the briefest reference to him and his life. He is the current chair, well, he's now deceased, but he was at the time of his passing, the chairman of the House Oversight and Reform Committee. And so he's been a very powerful player in Washington a long time. He's been in Congress 23 years. Before that, he served in the Maryland State House. I want to say this about that. I love America. I love that we have representative government. I love that the people of Baltimore, his district was majority black. I love that they have representation in Congress. It's the most beautiful structure for human government ever created, is our Constitution. It gives a voice to everyone in the country. You can choose your representative who goes up to Washington and argues that point of view. It's a beautiful thing, and that's what this man did. He was known for driving back and forth regularly to his district down to Washington, to Congress. You know, he wasn't living in fancy spots. He was driving back and forth. He fought hard for how he saw things. I will give him that credit. He saw and was concerned about race relations in America and discrimination and racism in this country, spoke up about it quite a bit. He was very active in the Congressional Black Caucus and spoke out on behalf of issues he saw. And this is what is the beautiful part of America, that a guy had a voice like that. And he was and today he's being remembered by people on both sides of the aisle just as having appreciated him. Another great thing about America is you can be in Congress and you can be a staunch Democrat and a staunch Republican and battle it out on the issues and get to legislation you want to get to, but those people actually have friendships. I think there were friendships expressed and talked about in the remembrances of him on both sides of the aisle. I will also say, in being an honest remembering of Elijah Cummings, he was the guy who, as an example, when in fact related to issues we're talking about today, True the Vote came along. True the Vote was one of the groups that grew out of concerns about the radical left turning of our country, about whether elections were fair. True the Vote grew up kind of around the same time as the Tea Party. And True the Vote was the organization when Catherine Engelbrecht founded it, still leads it. She's been on the show many times. She went to Congress to tell them what happened to her, how when she tried to get her 501c3 status for her group called True the Vote, she testified about the harassment by the federal government. The IRS is a laundry list of alphabet soup agencies that harassed her and her husband and their business and their family. They put her family through hell for years. In her congressional testimony, Elijah Cummings said he had nothing to do with that. He said he had nothing, had no idea, it didn't nothing to do with it at all. Fortunately for the availability and in our world of looking everything up, it turns out he did. This back in 2014, Elijah Cummings had actually had his staff send numerous complaints to the IRS demanding they investigate True the Vote, demanding they figure out a way to shut her down, making all sorts of unjustified accusations. To be really clear, all of the investigation, the IRS, even it wasn't the Bureau of Land Management, it was the alcohol, fire, and tobacco people looked into them. Agency after agency never found any wrongdoing. But they managed to take her off her game, running True the Vote, and spending her time and draining her family fortune defending herself. Elijah Cummings was in the middle of that. He lied in Congress saying he had nothing to do with it. In fact, he was a left-winger stirring up the abuse of the American citizen by the government. That was one little piece about him. And I know that sounds harsh in the day we're all honoring his life, but to say you can honor his fighting and honor his courage and honor his speaking up and this beautiful system we have in this country, you can't say he is without fault. You can't just let those kinds of things pass. They were serious wrongdoing. His presently, up until the day before he passed on, very much part of the effort to get President Trump kicked out of office for any reason, a huge leader and the ringleader in the mission to impeach the president based on nothing. As I said in the show, nothing President Trump has ever done or said has anything to do with why the left is moving to impeach him. They want to impeach him because he is daring to push forward his agenda that they don't like, and impeachment is a vehicle they have to fight against him. And so this impeachment thing has nothing to do with this conversation with Zelensky of Ukraine, nothing to do with Ukraine at all. Everything to do with the radical left not wanting to be willing to let President Trump be President Trump.